everyone, welcome to Two Car Pros. My name is Ryan, and today I'm going to show you exactly how to change the alternator for a 2004 to 2008 Ford F-150 with a 5.4 liter V8. This is about as easy as alternators gets, everyone. This is really simple. It's right on top of the engine. You don't have to take basically anything off to get to it, and they're not terribly expensive. And of course, all the links will be located down below for your convenience. So let's just jump into this one. It's super easy. So here's our battery in my 2005 F-150. So what we can do is grab an 8mm wrench or deep well socket and remove our negative battery terminal cable. You always remove your negative battery terminal cable first. Always, always, always. And there we go. Jiggle that loose and sash that down in a way that it can't accidentally touch while we're working. So the next thing I'm going to do is a pretty easy maintenance item. I'm going to take the serpentine belt off. So just a 1/2" drive ratchet and push that down, and that will relieve tension, and you can get it off one of the smooth pulleys, and then the alternator, you can just release it. Do that, and it's held in with, looks like 6 10mm bolts here. We can just buzz those off. And you will have noticed I have not unplugged the alternator yet, because it's going to be easier once the alternator is removed. I can kind of flip it over and then unplug it from behind. Let me just remove this bracket out of the way and hold on to this because this is definitely a reusable item. So now we can remove our alternator. It's fairly simple. On the back we can see that clip, so you just depress that safety and then you can pull off the connector. That's pretty easy. And then the main power lug, you just pull back the boot. Oops. And it's just a 10mm nut on there. And be careful if you're reusing this, you don't want it to just dangle by that. And we can just remove that guy there. There we go. Together, it's easy to forget where bolts go. So what I like to do is keep brackets and bolts and the accessory or whatever it is that you take off the truck in somewhere together, so you know that these 6 bolts go to only this. You can't mix them up. So do that for literally everything you take off on this project. So now it's time to replace our alternator. Here is my new to me remanufactured unit, manufactured by General Motors, AC Delco. I am super cool with using this part. It is going to work awesome for us. So now we can reinstall our alternator. So before we replace our alternator, what I'm going to do is grab its bolts. You can tell because they have this little shank at the end of them, and we're just going to start them in their bolt holes because I think it'll be easier to do it this way and then just kind of set the alternator on top of those, and then we can kind of bolt everything down. So you got those open ears, and you can just set the alternator down like that on top of it. Makes it a little easier on us. I like that. Gonna wind these in a little bit. Not much. I'm still gonna make it loose. Yeah, like that. And then we can grab our alternator strap, I guess. It's like a brace that holds onto the top of the alternator. And it goes on just like this. Yep, just like that. So that goes on. This is why I wanted to keep the alternator loose so I can line up all these bolts. And then we're going to replace our bolts for our alternator strap here. Notice the hole on that one's quite wide, so I gave that one a decent sized washer. This one goes here, and then there's 2 that actually secure the top of the alternator to the engine, so it's not just flopping around. So again, I'm just going to bring these down. I'm not going to tighten them all the way yet. Now that they're brought down, I can grab my torque wrench. And the top ones, you can probably guess, is 89 inch-pounds. Just like a lot of things on this top here. If you don't have a torque wrench, just wrist tight. 89 inch-pounds isn't a lot. There we go. And then for the bottom 2 bolts, it's actually 18 foot-pounds. Please notice I said foot, not inch. And above I was saying inch, not foot. Those are very important distinctions. And there you go, alternator installed. That means we're just rudimentarily on. And what I'm gonna do is grab my breaker bar, my 1/2-inch drive breaker bar, and put it in the tensioner and go down with it. And that's gonna give me enough slack to get the belt on. And you might be asking me why you're using a tensioner. It's because you might be asking me why I'm using a breaker bar for a tensioner. It's because this tensioner is brand spanking new and it's really tough. If you have an older one, you probably don't need to use such a robust implement. So just go around, make sure everything is nice and in its home. All the pulleys are nice and on. No grooves are outside of any pulley. Well, that looks really good. And go ahead and relieve the tension and check it out. Our serpentine belt is installed and looks really nice. Because I have this unique opportunity with the radiator out of the way, we can just look straight at the engine and what it looks like. So the routing, let's just start the alternator, comes down, goes down underneath this side of the tensioner, comes down around the AC compressor, around the tensioner pulley, down around the damper, around this way, smooth part goes on the water pump, comes back around, ribbed part goes on this ribbed pulley, continues that way the power steering pump on the rib side, smooth back of the belt comes on this smooth pulley, comes up, and we again finish out our alternator. So that's what your finished product should look like. So now we can hook up our alternator. So we need our power feed line. That's this one. We'll put that on. I've already removed the 10mm nut off of there. This brass one. Just spin that down. Now, for tightness on this, it's actually really important not to go over tight because this is sitting in, usually it's sitting in ceramic or something like that. And you just want this wrist tight. I think the torque spec is like 35 inch-pounds or something. I would call it wrist tight. You don't need to go overboard. And then don't forget to put the boot back on that. There we go. And then we can put the alternator control plug back on. This is easy peasy. All you need to do is line it up and push it on. You should hear it make a nice click. Once that's in its home, we can go ahead and put our little clip there in its home, and that will be really nice for us so it stays out of the serpentine belt. Now, when you're attaching the negative, it's very important to just touch the battery first like this and let off. If there's like a ton of sparks or things get real exciting real fast, take it away and figure out, you know, what the problem is. But ours is totally fine, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put ours back on. There we go. And then we can just tighten that 8mm back on up. Not Hulk tight or nothing, just like that's just fine. So that is how to change your alternator for 2004 to 2008 F-150 with a 5.4 liter V8. This is really, really simple. I think the alternator is like 130 bucks, something like that. And this is a awesome way to keep your truck on the road and not pay through the teeth. If you took this to the dealer, they can probably charge you something like 500 bucks to change this alternator out. You just watched me do it. Was that worth $500? I don't think so. You can do this with a very, very basic tool set and maybe an hour of your time. And then you have a brand new alternator that is feeding your truck charge and won't let you down. Also, if your battery is more than 2 years old or even 3 years old, I would definitely change that out. You can find a link down below in the description to exactly how to do that. Typically, when I change an alternator, I at least look at the battery, make sure that it is not too old. And if it's beyond 2 years, I go ahead and recommend a change out on that. And I recommend going to Costco and getting a battery from them because they have interstate batteries for a screaming deal. I would totally go to Costco for that. I think the battery for this truck's $114 there. And if you go to any other store, it's closer to $200. So you're saving a considerable amount of money going to Costco on that one. No, I'm not sponsored. It's just something I've noticed. Thank you so very much for watching. If you found this video helpful or interesting at all, please consider giving it a like or even subscribing. It really helps the channel out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.